This is the Feldenkrais podcast, and we'll be doing an awareness through movement lesson. So please lie on your back and get comfortable. So if you're interested in finding more about the Feldenkrais Method, please visit the website feldenkraissandiego.com, and actually it's feldenkraissd.com. So it's feldenkraissd.com, and that will give you resources and information. So that's a go-to place. That's also where the podcast lives. And if you're on Facebook, you can check us out at Feldenkrais San Diego. Okay, so let's begin. Please begin on your back and get comfortable here. As you rest on your back, listen to the areas that make contact with the floor. Get a sense of which areas settle into the floor clearly. And also notice that there are some areas that are lifted a bit from the floor. So get a sense of the way you fit on the floor today. What parts of you make full contact with the floor? How are you arranged here? And also take your attention to your breath, to the movement of your breath. And just listen as you breathe. What areas do you feel movement in your chest, in your ribs, through your back, in the belly? What moves and responds with your inhalation and exhalation? Get a sense of that. And as we do this lesson, it's very much about just seeing what your habits, what your patterns are, and not imposing any special breathing on it. So just see if you can go slowly and just listen to. You may find that there are areas where you're holding your breath. So begin with a movement. Your knees are bent, both feet are flat on the floor, your arms are just resting at your sides, the back of your head is resting on the floor. And begin with a simple movement of just bringing the low back a little bit toward the floor, and then letting go of that. So a few times bring the low back toward the floor and then let go. And you'll notice as you do that, that there's this shifting that happens. There's this shifting in the pelvis. Right? So a few times press the low back into the floor and then let go of that. So you'll feel the low back move toward the floor, and then you'll feel the low back lift away from the floor. So the intention is bringing the low back toward the floor, and then not doing anything, and feel that it lifts a bit from the floor. So a few times explore that and just see if that can become very easy and very simple, very comfortable. And then leave it completely alone. And now we're going to do a different movement. So please rest your hands on your belly and see if you can discern. We're looking for the area. Find your navel with one hand. So find your belly button with one hand and place one hand on your belly button. And then find that bony ridge right below that area. So if you just keep, have the other hand on the pubic bone. And so we're interested in this area between the navel and the pubic bone, right? This lower abdominal area. So with one hand resting on the pubic bone or on that lower abdominal area, go ahead and as you make an exhalation, think of protruding that area forward. So think of that area of the lower belly protruding forward with the exhalation. And then inhale as you bring the belly back in. And then with every exhalation, protrude the belly. So it's like the belly inflates. The belly comes forward. And then let it come back in as you inhale. But with the exhalation, protrude the belly. And explore that. So many times, each exhalation, and there's not a rush, it's very slow, very easy, very simple. With the exhalation, see if you can soften and really inflate that lower abdominal area so that protrudes forward. And then with the inhalation, pull the belly in again. So the first movement we did, we explored where the pelvis was moving on the floor. So there was a movement of the back coming toward the floor and away from the floor. This time, the emphasis is on the belly itself, on the abdomen itself coming forward. Right? And less on the movement of the back toward and away from the floor. You may find there is some movement there, that the back comes toward the floor or away from the floor, but the emphasis is actually on the belly itself coming forward and then coming back in. So explore taking the belly forward. Think of inflating the belly forward as you exhale, and then think of pulling the belly in with the inhalation. And just see if this can become simpler each time you do it, if it can become a bit easier, a bit more comfortable, less effortful. And take a break from it. Rest on your back. You can keep the knees bent or rest with the legs long. And as you rest like this, get a sense of how you make contact with the floor and see if you sense a difference in how you lie here. Are there any parts more in contact with the floor or less in contact with the floor? Is something heavier? Is there a difference in the breath or the movement of the breath? Notice what sensations you experience lying here. And bend both knees, stand both feet, come back to the same movement. And very simply, very comfortably, place your hands on your belly. And a few breaths, listen to the movement of your breath and see if there's a difference in how the breath moves. What areas inflate? One thing we're exploring in this lesson is this idea of bringing attention to this lower abdominal area, right? Bringing attention to how we use it. How integrated is it in our breathing, in our movement, right? You may find that in the breath there may be an absence of movement in this area. And this lesson is just asking you to bring attention to intentionally moving this area of the belly forward. And we'll just see what that brings to our breath, to the quality of our movement, to our standing, to living, to our attention. Does it contribute something? So go ahead, exhale as you protrude that area of the lower belly forward. And then inhale as you pull that area back in. Just see if this is becoming easier. Each time you protrude the belly, really see if that area, can it move? And it's not a harsh movement, but it's this soft sort of gentle expansion forward, right, in all directions. See if you can expand the belly forward. Right, think of a balloon, right, a balloon inflating. Right, so you allow the belly to expand, to protrude forward as you exhale. As you inhale, let the belly come back into you so that you pull it in. And then you exhale, and as you exhale, protrude the belly forward. And each time you protrude the belly forward, notice how much as the belly protrudes forward, what else protrudes forward? Do you protrude in the sides at all? Right? Really see as you protrude the belly forward, right? How does the belly protrude forward? Where is the emphasis? And then as you inhale, pull the belly in. Take a break and rest from that. Rest with your legs long or keep your knees bent, but pause. And as you pause, listen to changes, differences in how you lie like this. And bend both knees, stand both feet. And with your feet flat on the floor, the knees pointing to the ceiling. A few times press the feet and feel how the pelvis lifts. So allow the pelvis to lift a few times so the weight shifts along the spine in an upward direction toward leaning more weight higher on your back. And just see how high, how easily does the pelvis lift. Just discover that. Just play with that movement of allowing the pelvis to lift a bit, of shifting the weight higher on the back, and just see where that goes comfortably. And then set the pelvis back on the floor. Place both hands on your belly. Press through the right foot. And listen as you press the right foot into the floor. Can you feel how that shifts the weight toward the left side of the pelvis? Then press through the left foot and feel that shifts the weight toward the right side of the pelvis. And just keep both knees pointing toward the ceiling. And just feel that by pressing the right foot, the right hip lifts, gets a little bit lighter, and the weight pours toward the left side. Right? The knees both stay facing the ceiling. And then you press the left foot and feel that the weight comes away from the left hip and pours toward the right hip. So like that, you're pushing through one foot, the right foot, to lift the right hip and to pour weight into the left hip. When you press through the left foot, that lifts the left hip slightly and pours weight into the right side of the pelvis. So play with just shifting the weight from left to right across the pelvis. And just listen to that smooth movement, that gentle rocking from side to side. Doesn't need to be a large movement. It's just a very simple movement. This lesson is very much about the quality of what we do and making it smoother and more fluid, more efficient. And as you do this simple movement, attend to your breath. Do you hold your breath? Can you breathe fully as you simply press through the feet and allow the weight to shift across the pelvis? Leave that and rest. Pause. And notice your breath. If your legs are long, please bend your knees again. Stand your feet. Knees pointing to the ceiling, and you can rest your palms on your belly or rest them at your side. come back to that same movement as you protrude the belly, exhale, inhale as you pull the belly in. So with every exhalation, the belly grows forward, it protrudes, it inflates like a balloon. And as you inhale, pull the belly in. And just breathe like this, simply, comfortably. See if that lower abdominal area, can you bring more movement into this area? Can you bring attention there? And it might be a tiny movement, but see if that area, can it protrude? And you might use your fingers to really feel. Is that area between the navel and the pubic bone, can that protrude forward a bit? And then pull the belly in as you inhale, as you exhale, protrude the belly forward, especially that lower abdominal area. Leave that. And let's return to the movement of bringing the low back toward the floor and away from the floor. So simply bring the low back toward the floor, take the low back away from the floor. And just see if this is a simpler movement now. Is this a little bit more comfortable? Is there more freedom or more fluidity here? And then the next time you have the low back pressing on the floor, go ahead and circle that around and down and around and up, so that you're joining those lines. We had a line going, bringing the low back toward the floor and away from the floor, and then we had a line shifting the weight from the right side of the pelvis to the left side of the pelvis. So now we're drawing a circular motion that moves through all of those 4 points. Right? Gently, right? Use pushing through each foot to roll the pelvis around and around. You'll notice that when you press the right foot, that shifts the weight toward the left. When you press the left foot, that shifts the weight toward the right. So actually, the right hemisphere of the circle is controlled by pushing through the left foot, and the left hemisphere of the circle is controlled by pushing through the right foot. So by shifting the weight on the feet, you can draw a line of pressure on the floor beneath your pelvis. So you're drawing a circle on the floor beneath you. By pushing through the feet, the pelvis draws a circle. Now switch the direction so you continue making a round, smooth, easy, simple circle. But go in the opposing direction, the direction we haven't gone in yet. And see, does that change the quality of the circle? Is it different in some way? Right? Usually the first circle, the first direction we go is our preferred direction, the direction that's simpler for us. And you might find the second direction is maybe a little less fluid or a little less smooth. So explore this other direction, push through the feet, and notice how smooth, how round is this circle. And now as you continue circling the pelvis like this, and the circling is very smooth, very slow, very even, very comfortable. See if you can continue to circle in a way that doesn't interfere with your breathing. So see if the breathing can become very easy and fluid and effortless. So let the breath move simply. The pelvis is rolling. You may notice as the pelvis rolls that the head follows. Right? Even if it isn't doing that, allow it to. See if the head can circle together with the pelvis, so the head and pelvis are going in the same direction, round and round. So as you draw a circle, the back of the pelvis draws a circle, leans weight on the floor beneath you. The same circle is being drawn on the back of the head. The back of the head draws a circle on the floor beneath you as well. So see if you can synchronize that. So the head and the pelvis draw similar circles, round, easy, smooth, comfortable. So you'll see that as the pelvis rolls round and round, that the nose is drawing a circle on the ceiling above, very tiny little circle, and the back of the head draws a bigger circle, right? But the nose isn't rolling from side to side. It's really a very gentle circle. The back of the head rolling on the floor, just as the back of the pelvis rolls on the floor. Change direction again. And see, can the breath stay even and smooth and comfortable? And right now, play with, as you continue this simple, easy round circle, rolling the pelvis like this, see if you can protrude the belly as you exhale. Think of protruding the belly with the exhalation. See if that can find its way into the circle. When in the circle do you protrude the belly? When in the circle, could you exhale and protrude the belly? And could the protruding belly somehow help the circle be smoother or rounder? Right? So when you protrude the belly and exhale, at another point in the circle, you inhale and pull the belly in. So can the breath somehow relate to this circular movement of the pelvis? Can it help it? Right. Can the breath move the pelvis, change direction, and continue to protrude the belly forward with the exhalation and to pull the belly in with the inhalation? And leave everything alone and rest on your back. And sense what changes there are as you lie here. How do you fit on the floor? What do you observe about your contact with the floor or your connection to your breath? Bend both knees, stand both feet. And once again, see what it's like to lift the pelvis. How well does the pelvis lift? Is there a difference? Does the pelvis lift higher, or does the weight shift higher on the back or not? Notice that. And then also play with that little movement of just shifting the low back toward the floor and letting it come away from the floor. Is there a difference there? And when you're ready, roll to your side. Bring yourself simply and easily up to sitting. Or after a lesson like this, you might want to rest on your back a bit and breathe. Notice yourself here, lying here, or in sitting. Eventually, when you bring yourself to standing, notice what it is. How do you stand? Right? Where does your breath move? How do you inhabit yourself maybe a little bit differently after a quiet lesson like this? Right? What does this contribute to? Your ability to move or breathe. And take it into your day, and thank you very much.